The Young Muslim Writers Awards is one of the Muslim Hand's flagship UK projects, and now in its 9th year. Earlier this year, we invited schools, parents, and the young writers themselves to submit stories, poems, and articles to our annual writing competition. Today, we will be celebrating the 45 writers who have been shortlisted across 9 categories and finding out who this year's winners are. And now, to learn more about Muslim Hand's work in encouraging and celebrating these young trailblazers, please could you welcome the Deputy CEO of Muslim Hands, Shahid Bashir.
Assalamu alaikum all, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Most of us, I would hope, have some fond memories of our parents and our teachers reading to us in our early years. Certainly in my case, I have very fond memories of my mother reciting and reading Islamic stories in the main and stories of great Sufi sages of the past. And I think, on hindsight, I can see how they've been very formative in making me the person who I am today. You know, many of my views, whether they be socialist or liberal or what have you, actually I can trace back to some of those stories. And of course, it then went on to fuel my own interest in literature and later on in film. And at the time, that's what you see stories as, just a jolly good time. You know, hearing your mother tell that story, you know, the cliffhangers she'd kind of put in there and all of that, and it's a wonderful thing. But stories are actually far, far more important than that. And this is one of the reasons why you'll understand why Muslim Hands undertakes this program. But stories are incredibly important. But you know, when I look at how the declining rates of reading, particularly in our own country here, we're certainly not reading as much as we ought to. And when I look at the Muslim community in particular, my own community, you know, I'm a tad saddened, to be honest with you. Not because I think those people are just missing out on the sheer joy of reading and telling stories. But like I said, stories are far more important than that. And we all know, for instance, that stories have been used for thousands of years. You know, that's how people have always passed on knowledge from one generation to the next. And it's something that is old as mankind itself. And it's a long tradition. Long before printing presses made books available to people, this is how we communicate, this is how we learned. And the reason for this is that good stories, they actually engage us in a way that nothing else can. They arouse our curiosity, they stir our emotions, and most of all, they actually help us develop our imaginations. Now, imagination, or the development of imagination, is critical if we are to have the ability to innovate and be creative. So it's a very important skill. And one of the other things, and I think this is quite important, is that stories allow us to step into the shoes of people that we would never meet and maybe sometimes don't even want to meet. It allows you to begin to empathize with people who are very different from you, people who may have views that are radically different to yours, maybe even opposed to yours, but it allows us to have empathy. Now, the reason why this is important is that if we understand one another better and we have empathy, it's the only way we actually overcome conflict. And if you look at the world today, you know, by God, could we really do with a dose of empathy for everyone? So I think this is something that reading does, and it's incredibly important. And finally, stories, like I said, they allow us to make sense of the world around us. They kind of tell us who we are and our place in the world. But not only that, stories that we've heard, stories that we've learned, stories that we've enjoyed, we actually then go on to use those stories, even in anecdotal form, in summarized or shorthand, but we actually use them to express ourselves. And being able to express ourselves is incredibly important. And I remember as a youngster, and I won't say how old because this kind of went on for a long time, but I used to wonder, why is the Quran, I mean, this Quran is the word of God. You know, why is God talking to us in stories? Why? You know, he gave us the 10 Commandments. And why not give us another 101 or 1,001 for that matter? You know, thou shalt do this and thou shalt not do that. And then, you know, what's good, what's bad, what's evil. And then hopefully, you know, mankind could be guided properly and we wouldn't have all this differences of opinion and stuff. And I used to think about this a lot. And I guess later on I kind of began to understand that, the Creator, our Creator, knows our nature far, far better than we ever will. And we begin to understand this when you look at how stories affect us. We respond to stories. In fact, we innately respond to stories, particularly stories that have some emotional attachment. And once you actually pick up on a story that has that emotional attachment, it's kind of hit your core, we tend to be able to understand that story a lot better. In fact, neurologically, you can show this, that stories that we actually read about, they leave a neurological imprint in our brain rather the same way as if I'd seen that thing with my own eyes. So we remember them very vividly, and then we can go on to kind of share them with other people. Like I said to you, we actually share the stories we learn. And that, of course, simply can't be done with a list of do's and don'ts, or facts and figures, or even graphs. So this is why stories are incredibly important. And maybe Allah knows best, but maybe this is why the Quran is written in a way that there are so many stories embedded within it. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of why we have a passion for the Muslim Writers Award and why we believe stories and storytelling, and particularly writing, is so incredibly important. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about here is that the children that you see with us today, these children are the custodians of a very great tradition. Story writers and storytellers hold a very special place within humankind. They are the custodians of this great tradition, a tradition as old as mankind itself. They're also the custodians of our collective memory. Our collective human memory is actually encapsulated in stories and in books. And it doesn't matter if it's in a book form, it doesn't matter if it's a film, but that's where it's encapsulated. So I'm hoping that as our young writers of today, as they continue to write, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about books here or in film format or a poem or a song, they will be contributing to that human memory bank all over. So incredibly important for us. Now, alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of this project and the school's engagement program that runs behind it, and our involvement as a Muslim charity in backing this and supporting this for almost like 10 years. I think it's 9th year now. And alhamdulillah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. I mean, this is one of the few events that I always try to make. I didn't make it last year. But just seeing the thousands of children who've made submissions over the years, hundreds and hundreds that have gone through maybe even this room itself, who've been winning awards and what have you. It's just a wonderful journey to see so many people, so many young children begin to find their voice through writing. And some of those, we've had the privilege of then nurturing them in some way, and they've gone on to write and actually become published as well. So this is the wonderful story that it's been. And like I said, I'm very, very proud of our links to it. Of course, none of this would be possible without a huge amount of support from our donors and our supporters and our well-wishers. And I just want to take this moment, I know it's rather early in the day, but I just really want to thank a few people. Professor Claire Lees of the Institute of English Studies, my good friend Muhammad Ali, the CEO of Islam Channel. I don't think he's here today, but almost every year that we've been running this for the last 10 years, he's been a pillar of support, and he's always here. And then, of course, the judges. Now, if you can imagine sifting through thousands of stories written by young children, it's incredibly good fun. I know I've done a little bit of it in the past. It's wonderful, but it's an incredibly arduous and difficult task. And, of course, trying to pick winners. And there are no winners, really. I mean, I think anybody who's written with their heart and with sincerity and submitted their piece of work, in my book, they're winners already, alhamdulillah. But then thank you for the judges, because it's a really, really difficult task. And then, of course, the young writers themselves. This is you. All of you children here today, everyone who's entered, this is actually all about you. This whole venue, this whole event, the whole program, why this charity does this, this is about you. This is to celebrate who you are and your stories. So a round of applause for all of the entrants, please. And finally, I want to thank Sister Zainab Chauhan. I don't know where she's hiding, actually. For her tireless effort in putting this together. And of course, there's a lot of work that goes on to the background, the school's engagement program, like I said to you before, where we go into schools, particularly in inner city areas, focusing on BME areas to help children find their voice, to find the joys in reading and find the joys in writing, and that's the workshops that she runs. I just want to thank Zainab because, look, we don't have a particularly large budget for this. It's something that she's kind of year in, year out tirelessly puts together. So big round of applause for Zainab as well also, please. And just before I go, I just want to give you a bit of good news. Alhamdulillah, Zainab has finally kind of spread her wings and flown across the channel a bit. And our sister organization, Muslim Hands France, will also be running their equivalent of the Young Muslim Writers Award in the years to come. So that's a bit of good news. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, everybody, all of the volunteers that have helped put this together. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you here to celebrate the 9th Young Muslim Writers Awards. I hope you're all looking forward to an afternoon of celebrations and of being inspired by the future best-selling authors, poet laureates, and award-winning journalists. As we heard from Shahid, the Young Muslim Writers Awards allows us to encourage young people to feel confident with communicating their ideas and to be empowered to share their narrative. It is one of our flagship UK projects, along with our work in ex-offender rehabilitation, poverty alleviation, and women empowerment. Over the years, we have reached thousands of young writers, and we hope we have helped each of them to develop through the creative writing workshops and the annual writing competition. Our past winners have been invited to address audiences at international reading festivals, perform poetry at the O2, and even publish their novel at the age of just 16. To further nurture their talents, over the summer holidays, we launched our Summer Writing Workshop Roadshow, which travelled across the country and delivered poetry and short story writing workshops in London, Leicester, and Blackburn. These sessions gave young writers the opportunity to develop their work and to learn directly from highly esteemed poets and children's authors. Some are shortlisted, and we look forward to continuing these sessions in the new year, as well as delivering our first journalism, screenplay, and play script workshops. Last month, the 2018 Writer of the Year spent his half-term holidays in Pakistan, where he visited some of Muslim Hands' projects to learn more about the charity's transformative global work. And later this afternoon, Sabir will share his experience with us. And we're pleased to announce that one of this year's winners will also have the opportunity to visit Muslim Hands' projects abroad. Each year, my colleagues and I eagerly await to read the submissions from the competition, and this year's entries did not disappoint. They made us laugh, they brought us to tears, and they inspired us. This demonstrates the ability of the shortlisted writers to weave such vivid tales with their words. Topics this year included The Mystery of the Missing Crown Jewels, Urgent Pleas to Reverse Climate Change, An Ode to Favourite Footballers, and first-person accounts on the life of a fish and a wheelie bin. For the third year, we are honoured to share with you extracts from these shortlisted entries, which you can find in the anthologies, and I hope you picked one up on your way in, but if not, there'll be time later on to collect one as well. We are delighted to be working again with the Institute of English Studies, and it is our pleasure to be here at the heart of the University of London. I would like to thank Professor Claire Lees, Dr. Eleanor Hardy, and the team here for hosting us and helping us provide a platform for young writers. Claire sends her apologies. She was really looking forward to joining the celebrations with us today. However, she is recovering from the flu, so we send her good wishes. Claire sends her congratulations to all the winners and is looking forward to reading your work. And she has also invited this year's Writer of the Year on a tour of Senate House and to learn more about the Institute of English Studies. We would also like to express our gratitude to Muhammad Ali Harath and the team at Islam Channel, who have been supporters of this project from when it was just a mere idea. As our official media partner, Islam Channel has broadcasted our ceremonies and our mutual desire to encourage the arts to millions of viewers around the world. I would like to thank all the judges who have assessed the shortlist and carefully selected the winners. It was our pleasure to work with you all. The judges noted their joy in reading the entries and that the writers have a bright future ahead of them. Many of the judges are here today, and they're sitting to my left, and I hope you have the opportunity to speak with them earlier and later on as well. Each of our shortlisted writers were presented with a gift bag filled with books to encourage their love for reading and writing, And for their generosity, I would like to thank the following publishers: Bonnier Books UK, Carcanet, Chicken House Publishing, Faber and Faber, Francis Lincoln Children's Books, Hachette UK, Cube Publishing, Pan Macmillan, Raintree, the Royal Society of Literature, and Salaria Book Company. And lastly, I would like to thank all of you guests for joining us today and for celebrating this year's writers and for continuing to support our work. But our biggest thanks goes to all the writers who have taken part in this year's competition. Congratulations for being shortlisted this year, and we hope you continue your passion for writing and submit an entry to the 2020 competition, which will be opening very soon. Thank you very much.
Right. Our first award this afternoon is the Key Stage 3 Poetry for ages 11 to 14. The judges in this category were Tim Robertson, Kareem Parkins-Brown, and Molly Rosenberg. To present this award, please welcome the Director of the Royal Society of Literature, Molly Rosenberg.
Thank you, and hello. Can everyone hear me at the back? Yes. I wanted to start by saying what a privilege it is to be one of the judges of the Young Muslim Writers Awards again this year, and to hear from so many talented writers. At the Royal Society of Literature, we celebrate the power of literature to change society and the difference it can make to a life. All of us in this room, as readers and writers, know what words can do to draw us closer together, to share our experiences and show each other care. Reading the poems by the 11 to 14-year-olds this year, I was reminded of the power of literature to bring compassion, to remind us of the depth and value of each other's lives, and to conjure a world around the reader. These poems all explored the limits and boundaries we live within, whether the edge of a cliff or the edge of a stone wall, the boundary between life and death or the glass wall of a goldfish bowl. What was clear from all of your poems was how writing can take on the things that challenge us and free us from their constraints. You should all be very proud of your work, and I know that your family and friends will be extremely proud of you. I'd like to thank everyone at the Young Muslim Writers Awards, and particularly Zainab, for all that they do in supporting and encouraging your work. And I can't wait to see the writers you will become in the future. Without further ado, the main business of the afternoon. So for the Young Muslim Writers Awards shortlist for Key Stage 3 Poetry, age 11 to 14, the shortlist is Ayan Shah for Cliff Edge, Mohammed Amin for The Jewel of Albastin, Yazid Volahanmi Anafeku for The Fish, Amina Green for Stone Wall, Eliza Tahir for As Time Goes By. And the winner of the Key Stage 3 Poetry Award is Yazid Volahanmi Anafeku for his poem The Fish.
This is my poem, The Fish. Round and round I swim, condemned to a cell of glass, my captors finding joy in my suffering. An irksome child knocking on my bowl constantly, without fail, for hours on end, driving me to the verge of insanity. That feline in the corner watching me, his emerald eyes cutting through my flesh like a serrated blade. Every day is a fight for survival, dreaming of a life beyond this invisible barrier. I can only hope that I will be set free. I dream of the 7 seas, of diamond clear waters and golden sunsets sinking below the horizon. I dream of brilliant, beautiful coral, lining the ocean floor. I dream of a multitude of different species, all different shapes and colors, a haven under the surface. Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming. As long as I'm trapped in this bowl, that's all I'll ever do.
The next award is a Key Stage 2 Short Story Award. The judges in this category were Shahida Rahman, Yasmin Abdul Majid, and Sumaya Lee. To present this award, may I please welcome back Molly Rosenberg.
Congratulations to all of the shortlisted writers in this category. The Young Muslim Writers Award shortlist for Key Stage 2 Short Story, age 7 to 11. Yunus Sheikh for Jeweled Adventure. Fatima Zahra Mithwani for Raven and the Jade Star. Hannah Hussain for Crisis of Faith. Soraya Humuth Douglas for The Mystery of the Missing Crown Jewels. And Mohammed Abdullah for The Howling Pool of Torment. The winner of the Key Stage 2 Short Story Award is Fatima Zahra Mithwani for her short story, Raven and the Jade Star.
Congratulations, Fatima. Yeah, may we hear a few lines of your story?
Raven and the Jade Star. I was asleep, tangled in a treacherous web of troubled dreams when they came. Even if they were back, only losers would care. Why were they even called storm chasers? To my mind, we could surely take them on. But everyone else I knew turned to jelly in their presence. Such terror did they inspire as they wreaked havoc upon us, time and again, swooping down, ferocious beaks and feral smiles at the ready. After all, I am Raven the Reckless. Folk are always shaking their heads, advising me to be more ladylike and act with decorum. But I'm a meteor. Adventure calls to me. I am as wild and free as they come. I woke to a chant-like murmuring. The earth was spinning around me like a bee buzzing around a flower. A kaleidoscopic labyrinth of ruby reds, primrose yellows, leafy greens, and sparkling aqua wove together a thrilling tornado. I was on a roller coaster about to burst through a new door of my life when everything stopped.
Award number 3. Our next award is the Key Stage 1 Poetry Award, ages 5 to 7. The judges in this category were Suzanne Antelmi, Nasima Begum, and Claire Curry. To present this award, please welcome the nasheed singer, presenter, and children's writer, Khalil Muhammad.
See the bright moon soar like da 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 da. Rasulullah, Habibullah, Nabiullah, Shafiullah, it is you who was blessed in our midst with a sacred call. You invited us all with honor and esteem. You blessed Medina with your smile, and now your nobleness and your gentleness we will follow. Welcome in, welcome to you and 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 you. Rasulullah, Habibullah, Nabiullah, Shafiullah, وجب شكر علينا مادي One more note. Woo! Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum again. My name is Khalil Mohammed. I've been asked to say a few words to encourage our budding young authors. I want to start off by saying congratulations to our winners and participants and welcome to the world of literature. You've begun your journey, and like any journey, you will encounter detours along the way. Now, at the outset, some of these detours may threaten your pathway to becoming the world's most amazing writer, winning prizes, revolutionizing the world, and of course, making truckloads of money. After all, who wants to be a school caretaker or a factory worker or even work in a chemist? The last thing you need is a distraction. Well, I'm here today to tell you that oftentimes, and most definitely in my case, these detours are invaluable. As an aspiring writer, you will no doubt encounter the advice to read, 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 because consuming the literary brilliance of past and present authors is a sure way to sample a variety of styles and genres. But detours are also a treasure trove of goodies. I encourage you to indulge yourself in these detours that beckon to you from time to time, as they will undoubtedly enrich your writing experience. Because nothing can inform you like a personal hands-on experience where you've been there and done it, seen it, and you've even got the t-shirt to prove it. After all, what is wrong with being a factory worker or a school caretaker or even a chemist? Did you know that Agatha Christie worked as a chemist? Charles Dickens was a factory worker, and Stephen King, the author of It, which you guys should not have seen, by the way, was a school teacher, a school caretaker, excuse me. And Stan Lee, the man who brought us the wonderful world of Marvel, and my own personal hero, was an office assistant. Each of these legendary authors were wise enough to hold true to their course, and when pulled off on a detour, utilized the experience to make them better writers and spinners of dreams. So don't be afraid of the detours, the shiny objects that pull you away from time to time. They may prove to be your golden apple, or, in the words of Gollum, my precious. Here comes the nerve-wracking part. Right, Young Muslim Writers Awards shortlist for Key Stage 1, poetry age 5 to 7. The runners-up are Adam Abbasi for Summer Days, Isa Muhammad, My Granddad the Immigrant, Dean Muhammad Abbas for Super Mario, Aisha Rumbani, Happiness is a Pet Called Fifi, Anam Mumtaz Ranji, I Love My Mum. And the winner, nice title, the winner of the Key Stage 1 Poetry Award is, drumroll, a bit louder, guys, come on. You can stop now. I'm getting a bit carried away. Yeah? Isa Muhammad for his poem, My Grandfather the Immigrant. Step ye forth, young man.
Well done, Isa. Can we listen to your story, your poem?
The immigrant. My granddad came from Bangladesh in the hope of a better life, the language he did not speak. My granddad, the immigrant. No money in his pocket. My granddad, the immigrant. He traveled the country in the hope of a job. In the night, he would hold his hands up in prayer. He wrote letters to my grandma and sent money via air. My granddad, the immigrant, lonely, scared, worried, and troubled. Soon there was light. My granddad, the immigrant, met a friend who welcomed him and showed him the way. A job, a prayer, money, and family. My granddad, the immigrant, was finally content. He was no longer an immigrant. He belonged.
Award number 4. And now taking it over to the older categories, our next award is for Key Stage 4 short story for ages 14 to 16. The judges in this category were Samir Rahim, Rupa Faruqi, and Jasmine Brewery. To present this award, please welcome back Khalil Muhammad.
Then, the Young Muslim Writers Award shortlist for Key Stage 4, short story ages 14 to 16. The runners-up are Amina Diapatel, A Deliberately Fatal Overdose, Amira Sharif, The Poles of Two Lands, Aliyah Adewasi Kola Olantun, excuse me if I mispronounced that, Innocent Minds, Fatima Awan, Operation Impees, Amina Mohammed, The Other Side. Drum roll, please. You guys are used to it now. You're veterans. And the winner of the Key Stage 4 short story is Amina Dapi Patel for her short story, A Deliberately Fatal Overdose.
Amina. Please, can you share with us part of your story?
Sam was relieved when the waiting was over. His vision blurred with tears as his mother, accompanied by Dr. Chowdhury, stepped out of the emergency room, her eyes glistening with tears of her own. Sam felt his heart break as he watched his mother stand trembling in the entrance of the waiting room, wavering, vacillating, ungrounded and without purpose. The rug had been yanked from beneath her feet. Never before had Nicole experienced such nothingness. He felt a lurch in his chest as he gripped his mother's slender frame, enveloped in the sharp, angled embrace. The acute shoulder blades, the knobs of her spine and the ribs like the rungs of a ladder, made him shudder with suppressed rage.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There was once a king of Palestine. He was just and fair, and his people respected him. But he had many troubles. There were enemies that threatened his kingdom, and there was drought that threatened his crops. And if that wasn't enough, he had a son who was constantly writing stories. Now, this prince was handsome, he was kind, he was brave, but it troubled the king that this prince spent more time sitting in the library with his head in books than sitting in the council and discussing important affairs of state. He would sit for hours in his tower with pen and ink and candle, writing fantastical stories that grew from his dreams and imaginings. The king decided he must sort out his son once and for all. He would find his son a wife. So he organized a magnificent banquet, and he invited all of the most important and eligible ladies of the land. Now, the palace had never looked so beautiful. The banqueting tables were resplendent. The palace was sparkling, and the king sat at the high table with the prince next to him, and he said, "My son, why not choose a princess?" But the prince said, "Well, the woman of my dreams doesn't have to be a princess." And the king said, well, then marry one of the richest ladies in the land. And the prince said, "The woman of my dreams doesn't have to be rich." And the king said, well, then just marry one of the most beautiful ladies in the land. And the prince said, the woman of my dreams doesn't have to be beautiful. And the king said, then who is the woman of your dreams? And the prince said, a storyteller. The king groaned, but the prince had already got to his feet, and he announced in a voice that everyone could hear, "Let it be known that any young lady who wants to marry me must tell me a story and amaze me with a feat of her imagination." There were gasps amongst the guests, and nobody stepped forward. They just muttered amongst themselves, and the king had his head in his hand, and the prince had given up, and he was about to leave when suddenly a voice said, "I found an egg the size of a watermelon." The king looked up. The prince turned round, and everybody stared. The owner of the voice was a young lady who was not a princess. She certainly wasn't rich. In fact, she was not even a guest. She was just a maid. But she had a sparkle in her eyes and a spectacular smile. And she said, "I found an egg the size of a watermelon. And it was as smooth as a baby's bottom. I started to play with it. And then I dropped it, and it cracked open. And out of it came the most magnificent cockerel of feathers of orange and red and gold, and it was the size of a horse. So I started to ride it. And I rode through many lands, through fields and forests, and I was having such a good time that I didn't notice until I dismounted that its back was sore. So I found an old medicine woman, and she said to me, "Take a date stone and crush it at midnight. When the moon is full, rub the oil on the cockerel's back. It'll be better by morning." So I did just that. And in the morning, there was a date palm. A date palm growing out of the cockerel's back. By now, everyone in the court was like this. I said, and at the top of the date palm, I could see the most luscious, juicy dates. So I took stones and I started to throw them up, and the dates fell down, and I ate so many. I just nearly had eaten 100 when suddenly I thought, all those stones that I threw up have not come down. So I started to climb the date palm. And I climbed, and the sun went down, and I slept, and then I climbed, and and when I got to the top, I looked out into a magnificent, fertile green land. My land. So I went down, and I went into my land, and I thought, great, what shall I grow? Oh, I know, sesame seeds. So I sowed the crop in the morning, and by the afternoon, the crop was ready, and I filled thousands of sacks with thousands of seeds, and I counted every one. 999. One was missing. I saw an ant running away with it, so I chased it, and I grabbed hold of the seed, and I pulled, and the ant pulled, and I pulled, and the ant pulled, and then the seed split open, and I found myself swimming in a sea of sesame oil. Now I had 2 harvests instead of 1. So I swam to the shore, and I thought, right, what shall I grow now? Watermelons. So I planted the seed in the morning, and by the afternoon, the crop was ready, and there was one. It was enormous and blue and square. So I took a sword, whoosh, and I cut a slice, whoosh, whoosh, and I was about to take a bite when there was a staircase leading down into the watermelon. So I went down the stairs. And I found myself in a bustling market, and it was selling carpets and calabash and books and pottery, and sitting by the side of the road was an old man looking very sad. I asked him what the matter was, and he said to me, "Oh, my old donkey, it won't work. And I have so many deliveries to do today." And I looked, and there was the donkey, sat on the side of the road, legs crossed, and smoking a pipe. I wanted to help, so I said, "Okay, you grab its head, and I'll pull the tail. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The tail came off in my hand. And the man started to shout and yell, and an angry crowd gathered around demanding justice, and I was arrested and taken to court. And the judge said, "Put her in the barrel of a cannon and shoot her away." So I was squeezed into the barrel of a cannon and fired into the sky, where I flew amongst the rainbows and stars, and then I landed here in the prince's banquet. The prince was delighted, and he cried, "Now I have found the woman of my dreams." Now, when the prince ruled as king with his storyteller queen at his side, they used the power of their imaginations and found ways to make peace with their enemies and cultivate their land. Together, they grew a rich and prosperous Palestine. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Award is the Key Stage 3 Short Story Award for ages 11 to 14. The judges in this category were SF Saeed, Naima Robert, Yasmin Rahman, and Sufia Ahmed. To help present this award, we have with us a judge from the category. Please welcome the children's author, Naima Robert.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, I think that our dear sister has shown you how it's done. Am I right? So let's give it some energy. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be joining you on stage next, sis. It is an honor to be here with you all, celebrating the words and the work of our beautiful children. The late, great Toni Morrison said, if there is a story that you want to read and it has not been written yet, you must be the one to write it. And these words have so much resonance for us in this time and in this place where we are now stepping forward to tell our own stories. And we are finding spaces like this where our stories can be heard, our stories can be understood, and our storytellers celebrated. When I started writing diverse stories, almost 20 years ago now, the landscape was very different. And so my message to you young writers today is carpe diem. Carpe diem, seize the day. The day is yours. There are people out there waiting to hear your story. And you have such a rich mix of heritage, of culture, of religion, of language, of experiences of your own. Your experiences are not like our experiences. Our generation will give way to you. And so you really are the storytellers and the change makers of the future. I always like to say that those of us who write and share our writing are sharing our love letter to the world. In that letter, we share our hopes, our dreams, our fears, our laughter, our tears, our loss, and our triumphs. We open our hearts and we allow ourselves to be seen and allow ourselves to be heard. And that is one of the bravest things that you can do. And so to you, young writers, storytellers, change makers of the future, I invite you to claim your voices and take your place. Do what you're doing now. Tell your stories, speak your truth, allow us into your world. We all are waiting to see your vision and where you take us into in the future. So guys, can we just give a big round of applause for every single child who dared to tell their story? Thank you. So, the Young Muslim Writers Awards shortlist for Key Stage 3 short story, and that's ages 11 to 14. We have Sadia Khan, A Sad Kind of Beautiful. Maisha Radia Ahmed, The House of the Lost. Amina Green, Keep Moving. Myra Durrani, A Single Mistake. And Asia Daya, The Paradox of It All. And the winner of the Key Stage 3 Short Story Award is, drum roll please, Asia Daya for her story, The paradox of it all.
Congratulations, Asya. Can we hear your story, please?
A series of images flashed across the television, punctuated by words. This is for your own good. A distorted face. Surrender. Arif hit a key and the footage cut. Don't look at it too long, he said. This is being aired to hundreds of millions across the country, over 1 million viewers already. We don't know the effects yet, but police have received hundreds of thousands of calls about break-ins from houses where the television wasn't on. Blue cursed under her breath and reached for her phone. Find Jen, she commanded, and powered on the phone that she had kept switched off for the past few days. She figured it couldn't get worse than this. Harold was a distraction, she said loudly, to make sure we couldn't stop their main event. The phone flashed, then died. Blue hit it against the table, and the lights went out. What? She whispered, and fumbled across the desk to find the drawer where she kept her flashlights. They were unnecessary. The biggest monitor in the center of the room lit with a single sentence. You send your messages through space, our space. Did you really think we wouldn't replace them?
Thank you, Asya. So the next award is the Key Stage 2 Poetry Award. And the judges in this category were Muhammad Muhammad, Hibak Usman, and Anam Salman. To present this award, please welcome back Naima Robert.
So, the Young Muslim Writers Awards shortlist for Key Stage 2 Poetry, that's ages 7 to 11. We have Amina Khan, Ayum the Bookworm, Aisha Kola Olokutun, The Girl Who Owns It All, Omar Ibrahim, Dance Like the Dandelion, Jannah Khatib, My Last Breath, and Abdul Samir Riaz, Egyptian King. The winner of the Key Stage 2 Poetry Awards is, drumroll please, Aisha Kola Olokotun for her poem, The Girl Who Owns It All. Yes.
Congratulations, Aisha. Can we hear a few lines of your story?
She had a bottomless bag full of jewelry and food. She had millions of toys to put her in a great mood. She had a sky blue top, so light and so fair. She had paint in the colours of hope and despair. And that's how she likes it, the whole world in her hands. She even forced her mum to buy her an array of floral fans. She had currencies from dollars to pounds to nairas. She had a telescope to see Orion and Lyra, plus that new slime shooter from dear Uncle Pat, and an oddly shaped vermilion hat. And that's how she liked it, the whole world in her hands. She even forced her mum to buy her an entire marching band. She had jewels of all shapes and sizes. She had a jack in a box full of curious surprises. Had a pearl snatched from an azure lagoon, even an inky basalt rock taken from the moon. And that's how she likes it, the whole world in her hand. She even forced her mum to buy her a slave from Lapland.
Thank you. We now move on to our next award, which is the Key Stage 1 Short Story Award for ages 5 to 7. Judges in this category were Tuscany Bernia, Khalil Muhammad, Asma Hussain, and Sadia Faruqi. Our presenter for this award is the Director of Community Welfare and Development at Muslim Hands, Maqsood Ahmed, OBE.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You heard and you've seen Saber Mia, and now you see his bodyguard coming on the stage. I think the stories always, I'm sure some of my generation would remember that mothers and fathers, especially mothers, to send us sleep, they will share a good story before we went to the bed. And those stories often was about the princess and the prince and the better outcome. What I'm heartened to hear some of the stories and listening to some of those abstract. You young writers and future leaders, what you write, they are very true, not imaginative, but a reality and what we face daily basis. And I would say that again and again, please keep writing and keep writing and keep writing. So the story is often told, the truth had to be said, and the children are the best people to write. So the bodyguard of Saber Mia has been tasked to announce the key stage 1, short story. And the shortlisted are Ryan Hakim Piper, Asma Irshad Hussain, Minha Ali, Humaira Tamul, Lukman Abbasi. The winner, key stage 1 short story is Asma Irshad Hussain. I think Asma's supporters are so excited they never allow me to read the title of her story. The girl who grew up too quickly. That's very nice. Let's go.
Congratulations, Asma. Can we have a few words of your story?
One day, Hafs and her mum were starving, so they went to the marketplace to look for food. They decided to stand on the road. Every time the traffic lights would turn red, they would come on the road and knock on everyone's car windows and ask for money. Some people would give them money and some people would give them food, but some people would not give them anything. It was dangerous standing in the middle of the road between cars. The cars will start to move a little bit, and Hafs and her mum will hold on to the cars and walk with them, hoping they'll give her something. They did the same on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is how they got some food to eat.
Our 8th award for this afternoon is a Key Stage 3 Journalism Award for ages 11 to 14. The judges in this category were Ahmed Versi, Abu Bakr Al-Shamahi, Nafisa Bakr, Charlie Brinkhurst Cuff, and Faima Bakr. To present this award, please welcome the Director of Community Welfare, once again, Maqsood Ahmed Obi.
The shortlisted are for the story In Britain, a Racist Country by Sumaya Qureshi, Murder in the Name of Love and Honor by Muhammad Salis Reyaz, Don't Wait to Vaccinate, Amira Kola, I'm not going to be able to pronounce, Olokotun, Word Peace or Chaos, America's Coal, Asma Zafrani, Don't Blame the Sun, Aliza Tahir. I think the most difficult name is the winner. Amira Kola Olokotun is the winner.
Well done, Amira. Could you please share with us a few words of your article?
The bed is so big that it seems to swallow the child that's curled under its blanket. A plush teddy bear rests on her shoulder, its lips pulled back in a permanent grin. The The child's golden hair cascades down the pillow, framing her pale face like a radiant halo. Her eyelids are closed, and a shadow of a smile lingers on her face. The only thing that spoils this illusion of serenity are the wires that pierce her body. Her torso is covered with red blotches, the very things that gave her a death sentence. She hasn't done anything to deserve this. Just shy of 4 years old, this girl is described as a ray of sunshine by relatives and an intelligent, cheerful child by teachers. Her bright future has been ripped away by an agonizing illness, an illness that has killed millions, an illness that had in the past been almost completely eradicated. Esme has the measles.
Our 9th award is the Key Stage 4 Poetry Award for ages 14 to 16. Judges in this category were Brian Patton, Kate Wakeling, Hafsa, and Anila Bashir. To present this award, please welcome the children's author, Yasmin Rahman.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Yasmin Rahman. I'm a children's author. I write for teenagers. I was honoured to be asked to judge the Key Stage 3 short story competition, and even more honoured to be able to present the Key Stage 4 Poetry Award. When reading the brilliant submissions, I was completely blown away by the talent shown by all these promising young writers. I'm sure each and every one of you has a bright future ahead. I was asked to give a few words to be inspirational to you, so please allow me to tell a little story about myself. I grew up in a very white town. In fact, I was the only Asian in my entire primary school. And I found myself sort of molding myself to my environment. I stopped putting oil in my hair because kids told me it was too greasy. I stopped pronouncing my surname as Rahman and instead said Rahman because it's easier to pronounce. In these little ways, I started losing myself to what I thought I should become to fit what was around me. And so when I started writing, I wrote stories that included kissing and drinking and parties because that's what I thought I should be writing. All the books I read included white kids doing these things that I would never dare to do or even want to do. I didn't realize that I could do something different. I got to a point in my writing where I realized that I wanted change, that I could be the change. I wanted there to be more books about Muslims, about people like me. I wanted to write books where Muslims weren't oppressed, we weren't terrorists or any of the lazy stereotypes that people assign to us. I wanted to show that we are just ordinary people. In my novel, All the Things We Never Said, the main character is a Muslim teenager called Mehreen. She's a hijabi and completely fine with it. She prays, she reads the Quran. The book even starts with the word Bismillah. She is just a normal Muslim girl. It's very important to me as a writer to be unapologetic about who I am. And if I could give one piece of advice to these young writers, it's this: be you. It is enough to be just you. We need more representation in books, not just in the characters we write, but in the people who write them. And seeing so many talented writers here today, I am positive that this change is coming. If any one of you are looking to take your writing further, remember to write what you want. Hold your head high, stick your elbows out, and make some room for yourself in this very white-dominated industry, because you completely and utterly deserve to be there. You have the talent to be there and the opportunity to make a difference. I have faith that you are going to pave the way to a more representative industry, that you will write books and poems and scripts that people love, but more importantly, that show other Muslim children that they too can be writers. I am so proud of everyone who entered the competition just for being brave enough to do so, and I personally am so excited to see what you all do in the future. So, the Young Muslim Writers Award shortlist for Key Stage 4 Poetry, ages 14 to 16. I apologise if I pronounce your names wrong. Aliyah Adesiwa Kola Olukutun, Drowning. Amira Sharif, Table Manners. Sakina Buhari, Nature. Rumaisa Ahmad, Earth's Plea. Khadija Desai, We Share Our Sorrows. And the winner of the Key Stage 4 Poetry Award is Amira Sharif for her poem Table Manners.
table manners, a stool where one extends a hand of kindness to offer assistance in times of hardship, a park bench where the public become casualty to their emotions, falling into a void of contemplation, a sofa where the eyes stay fixated onto a square, parallel, never meet, social life. The sloth within them comes out to recline. An armchair where the elderly inspire the youth with tales of war and valor, yet the war the youth will fight lives in their head. An office chair where the robots march pretentiously in a bid to snatch a promotion to become society's software. A political seat in the House of Commons where lies are fermented, brewing a glass of social responsibility, spiked with a pill of falsehood and fabrication. A throne where royalty extend a hand of pompous splendor, born to dictate from their divinely appointed blood that circulates through the hand that strikes. If some believe the negligent occupy the best seats in this temporary world, where's my seat at the table?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we now reach the penultimate award for this afternoon, the Young Muslim Writers Awards Writer of the Year. To select the winner for this award, each of the winning entries from the 9 categories are reviewed. Our Writer of the Year judge seeks to find the writer who demonstrates creative writing excellence beyond their age. To present this award, please welcome to the stage the chairman of Muslim Hands, Sayyid Lakhti Hasnain.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Young Muslim Writers Award Writer of the Year 2019 is Amina Dadi Patel.
Amina, will you come forward and recite a few words of the story as Writer of the Year?
So I didn't really plan a speech or anything. I just want to say that writing is my passion. I've always loved arts and writing, and it's the way I've expressed myself since I was a child. I really want to thank my friends who've always been there to encourage me and tell me to be confident and just go for things like this. My teachers who've been an inspiration, in particular one teacher called Miss Zainab Patel. She really, from my secondary school, she's really pushed me to my limits, but in the best way. And my mother, she's, every time I tell her, hey, I got top marks on something, a piece of writing today, she wouldn't be surprised, and I wanted her to cry out in ecstasy, but she knew things like this. That's what moms know. So, thank you to everyone.
Well done once again to Amina on being selected the Writer of the Year. The final award this afternoon is a Muslim Hands Special Recognition Award. Each year we recognize a young person who has championed children's rights or who has shown courage, strength and resilience in the face of adversity. Our past recipients have included Malala Yousafzai, UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador Muzoon Al-Melihan, and last year we honored the children of Grenfell. But Ahmed Nawaz, and we're very honored to have him with us today, was 14 years old when his school came under attack in December 2014 in Peshawar, Pakistan. Though Ahmed is with us today to receive this award, during the attack he tragically lost his younger brother, Haris. To receive further medical treatment for his injuries, Ahmed was flown to the UK in 2015, moving with his family to Birmingham. Since recovering from the attack, Ahmed has been tirelessly campaigning around the world for peace and education for young people. He has addressed audiences at the United Nations, the House of Lords, and in over 100 schools, colleges, and universities. Earlier this year, he was a guest of the President of Portugal, where he spoke before heads of states and Nobel laureates to bring to their attention the children's rights and their role in society. And just this week, Ahmed received the Legacy Award from Prince William at Kensington Palace. Ahmed has received numerous awards, including the Points of Light Award by the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister Theresa May, the Pride of Birmingham Award, and the Diana Award, amongst others. Ahmed is now running a global campaign for youth empowerment and is supporting initiatives to establish new schools in Lebanon, Malawi, and Uganda. Presenting this award will be the chairman of Muslim Hands, Sayyid Lakhti Hasnain. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to the recipient of the Muslim Hands Special Recognition Award 2019 to Ahmed Nawaz.
First of all, I would just like to say how inspired I have been this day listening to the stories, the inspiring stories from all the young people, the poems and the short stories. I was reading the booklet and I was so impressed with how articulate they were. I would also like to say a big thanks to the Muslim Hands for honoring me with this award. I believe this award really belongs to all the young people who lost their lives in the Army Public School attack in 2014. I believe it also belongs to all the young people who show resilience and courage in the face of adversity. It also belongs to all the young people who fight through their unique skills like literature to make our society a peaceful place to live. I would like to take this opportunity to share a few words with the young people sitting here today. On 16 December 2014, my school, the Army Public School, was attacked. It was perhaps one of the darkest days in the history of Pakistan, as far as I can remember. I lost my younger brother Haris to that attack alongside about 132 friends. And I was also shot and severely wounded in that attack. After that attack, when I looked at my parents, you know what I realized? When I saw the pain that my family was going through, I realized that millions of people around the world suffered through the same pain every day. And I thought, that needs to stop. That was the moment when my life totally changed. I decided that I will not step back and let my story and that of my friends fade away and become a statistic. But I decided to stand up, speak out, and make sure that no one in this world suffers through the same thing ever again. In that attack, the children were targeted, and I think there is a reason behind it. It is not military or any of the forces that those terrorists feared, but it was young people shaping their future, embracing knowledge, and resisting hatred. Those terrorists were terrified of us young people, the hope and the potential that comes from educating young people. I want to say this to all of the young people sitting here today, that in life, when an incident or something horrible happens, we're usually faced with two choices. We can either stay quiet and try to forget about that incident and move on with our lives. Or we could stand up, speak out, and take action and make sure that no one in this world suffers through the same thing ever again. I chose the latter, and I will encourage everyone in this room to do the same. I believe all of you young people here are very privileged having all these opportunities to write. A lot of people in other parts of the world are deprived of these fundamental opportunities that you're given on a daily basis. So I want to say this to all of you, that having this opportunity, you all here have a responsibility to speak out. Speak out about the things that you think are wrong in our society. Speak out for your friends, for the people surrounding you. And speak out because you can make a difference, because your voice actually matters. Now, when I say this generally, young people ask me, what can I do individually to make a difference? Well, a difference starts from us. First, we start to change ourselves into being compassionate, kind, and loving. Then we encourage our friends and our family and people surrounding us to embrace these values. Then we start to speak out by writing or by speaking out against the problems in our society. And then we move on towards the bigger issues in the global society. I believe this is all up to you young people sitting here if you want this world to become a peaceful place for everyone or a place full of oppression. In the end, I want to say this to the parents sitting here today, accompanying the children, that I believe you have a really big responsibility of encouraging the children in taking up these leading roles. Because I believe after the attack, if it wasn't for my parents and my elders, if they hadn't encouraged me to do something, to take these steps, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today. So I believe that you all have individually a role to play in our society, and we must make a use of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Nawaz.
Why we are having this kind of project, Muslim Hands? The children, you are our future. When we were like you, small, our elders, they used to tell us, you are our future. I was thinking, how we can be their future? We are so small. They are elders. They are intelligent and good people. They are our future. Now, when we became elder, I'm telling you same thing. You are our future. Muslim Hands has a big difference. We're not just sponsoring orphans, general orphans, giving them money, and the children giving them hope. Muslim Hands have made a big difference. We establish Muslim Hands international level of quality education schools in many countries, about 300 schools. And about more than 45,000 children, they're studying in Muslim Hands schools. You have seen the quality of the buildings and the work. Sabir Hussain went to Pakistan, to Islamabad School of Excellence and the Wazirabad Educational Complex. This kind of schools in Bangladesh, in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka, in Indonesia, in Niger, in Mali, in Bangladesh, and many other countries. Because we wanted to give quality education. Education is everywhere in the Muslim world, but quality education is not there. Do you know that how many generations we have lost? Since 1979, when Soviet Union came into Afghanistan, see that 40 years now, about 3 generations we lost in Afghanistan. And since 90s, how many generations we lost in Iraq? Then Syria, then Kashmir, then Chechnya, then Bosnia, then Kosovo, then Palestine. Many, many countries. Wherever war comes, you lost your generations, 2, 3, 4 generations. But we're trying best in UK, particularly to look after our children. You are our future. Short, I tell you today, I received a video from one of our managers from Pakistan. In video, that is a young guy is standing in front of the Syrian refugees children in front of the camp, possibly in Syria or in Turkey. He has a paper about 5 to 10 children coming in front of him. Please read this paper. What's written there? 5-year-old girl came, she said, I cannot read. 7 years boy came, I cannot read. 10 years boy came, I cannot read. You know what was written there? Just Allah. They were not able to read because there's no education for them. They are beautiful children, but they are not able because they have no education. We have lost, in the last 40 years, many generations we have lost. We need to build our children. You are our future. Thank you.
What a way to end this fantastic afternoon that we've had, listening to young people read their poems, their stories, and finishing with the Holy Quran. Thank you so much for coming. Please can I ask all the nominators, storytellers and poets to come up to the stage. Can I have the chairman, the deputy CEO, and please give yourself a round of applause because you've been fantastic this afternoon.